Hi. So far we have seen various types of operators and expressions where each expression has operands of same type. But there can be some cases where the operands in an expression are of different types. In those cases, we need to have a mechanism called type conversion. So in this video we will see what is type conversion, different types of this type conversion using examples. So when an operator has different types of operands, then they are converted to a common type based on some rules. For example, if I want to add two variables of different types, let us say A is of integer type and B is of floating point type, and I want to perform addition operation on these two operands. Right? Let us say I want to do this, and let's consider that integer takes 16 bits on this machine, that is 2 bytes, whereas floating point number takes 32 bits, which is 4 bytes. Here I am considering the sizes of integer as 16 bits and size of floating point number as 32 bit. This is just for this example. The sizes of these data types can be different on other machines. So to demonstrate this example, I am just considering int as 16 bit and float as 32 bit. Now clearly A and B are of different types, where A is of integer type and B is of floating point. Now if I want to perform an addition operation on these two variables, then the compiler will not allow me to do that directly, because the compiler requires all the operands in an expression to be of same type. So what compiler does is it converts one of these operands from its type to another type, so that all the operands will be of same type, right? Common type. Now you may ask me, how does the compiler choose which variable or which operand to convert and to which data type it will convert, right? So what it does is it considers the operand which is taking the smallest amount of memory and then converts it into the one which is taking larger amount of memory, right? In this example here, int is taking 16 bit whereas float is taking 32 bit. So the compiler converts integer to float and then performs this addition operation. So in this expression, the compiler implicitly converts this integer to float and then adds these two floating point numbers to get a floating point number as a result, right? So this is how the compiler does this type conversion implicitly. So here is the list of data types in this hierarchy. What compiler does is, in an expression it looks whether there is a long double type or not. If any long double type operand is there, then it converts all the other operands into long double and then evaluates the expression. Otherwise, that means if there is no long double operand in this expression, then it checks whether any operand is of double type. If there is any operand of double type and all the other operands are of any of these types, then the operands which are of any of these types will be converted to double and then evaluates the expression. Otherwise, that means if an expression does not have a long double or double, then the compiler checks whether the expression has any floating point number. If there is any floating point number, then the other operands will be converted to floating point number, and then the expression is evaluated. Similarly for int and short or char. So with this hierarchy you can relate to this example, right? So what happened is, here is we have a plus b, right? So the compiler checks whether this expression has long double, right? This expression does not have any long double, then it goes on to check whether this expression has any double typed data. So here double also is not there, so the compiler goes on to check floating point number. So here we have b as floating point number, so it will convert all the other operands into floating point number, right? So here I have integer, so this will be converted to floating point number, and then the expression is evaluated, right? So all these will be taken care by the compiler itself. So whatever conversion is done during this evaluation of expression, this is called implicit conversion, right? This is called implicit conversion. Now in this expression, a is float and b is float, right? So the total expression evaluates to a floating point number, right? For example, let's say initially a is 10 and b is 5.5, then a plus b will yield 15.5, right? Of course there are zeros here after 5, right? So this is the value which we got from a plus b. Here you should observe that a is implicitly converted to floating point number, right? This will be represented as 10.0 after conversion to floating point number. Initially it was 10, but whereas after converting it has become 10.0, and 10.0 will be added to 5.5 to give the result 15.5, right? So whatever the value we have got from a plus b will also be a floating point number, right? So to store this value you will need a variable, right? Let's say result is equal to a plus b, right? This is how you store the value of a plus b in result, in a variable called result. Now the question is, what is the type of this variable? The type of the result, variable result, should be same as whatever type this expression evaluates to. So this expression gives 15.5, which is a floating point number, so the result, the variable result, should also be the floating point number, right? So float result is equal to a plus b. This is how you should have this expression. If the result is not floating point number but it is an integer, let's say it is an integer, result is an integer value, and you are assigning a floating point number 15.5, which is a plus b, the result of a plus b is 15.5, and you are trying to store 15.5 into this integer variable. Then what happens is, the compiler simply drops the digits which are after decimal. So all these decimal values, all these digits after decimal will be dropped, and only 15 will be stored in this result variable, right? So this is my result variable, and 15 will be stored in the memory by dropping all the digits after decimal point, right? So even this conversion, so what happened here, if you observe, what happened here is, you are converting a floating point number which is on RHS to an integer value which is on left hand side, right? So this is also an implicit conversion which is done by the compiler itself, right? This is during assignment, whereas this is during expression evaluation, right? This is during assignment this is during expression evaluation, right? So both these conversions are carried out by the compiler itself. No need to do anything from the programmer perspective. So this is called an implicit conversion.